Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is Josh Albrecht, and with me, as always, is my good friend John Taylor. And John, the Brewers are so freaking hot
That's right.
right now. I
Yeah.
mean, look, this is going to be a fun episode, so I'm going to get the negative stuff out of the way right away. If anybody out there, so here back in Wisconsin, John, we had some nasty floods
I
that
heard.
came through. Lucky for me and my family, we were okay. We were
Good.
okay. Some family members weren't. They had some flooding. We know a lot of people had a lot of flooding. I mean, they shut down the state fair today. Half of the parking at the Brewer game today was unavailable.
Yeah.
They played the game, but they said that I think they thought there was parking for maybe 20 to 23,000 people. And fans still found ways to show up today, which was amazing. But hopefully, if you're watching this or listening to this, you didn't have as hard of a time dealing with those floods. And if you did, I hope that everyone is safe. Remember, things can be replaced. People can't. That being said, man, this Brewers team, electric stuff.
You know what? I'm trying to think. Since we recorded, we had a little bit of an impromptu hiatus. So thank you for everybody who's still listening. And the constant grind can, sometimes life gets in the way or whatever. I'm trying to do the math. I think the Brewers have lost one game since we recorded last.
Yeah.
I think it was against the Cubs.
Yes, I think you're correct.
Yeah.
Insane.
So that's good. I don't know. I just want to celebrate up top. I suppose we're going to dive in, but
yeah,
man, this is how I know the Brewers are doing well. My father, Glenn Taylor, is texting me about it.
That is a big deal. People a big deal. Realize.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Every text message starts with FWD : and I'm like, are you typing this out on a computer and then like emailing it? Anyways, we're talking I'm talking baseball with people who don't text, is my point. The team feels special. I think he said it too. Like, this is the best Brewers team I think has ever been assembled. Period. Shout out to 1982. Shout out to 2008, 2011, 2018. This team is top to bottom the best team that has ever gone on the field to wear a Milwaukee Brewers jersey. Straight up.
I know that we bring this up a lot, but I can't help but think of the conversations we were having on this podcast at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
To where we are now. First of all, that just proves how long the freaking baseball season is, right? Like, it's a long season, and there's still plenty of baseball left. But I've been saying that there's still plenty of baseball left for a while, and this team has continued. Think about leading into the All-Star break. They were hot, and I was like, that was a great way to end it. Great way to end, the first half. Okay, now, but can they come out? Can they come out?
Mm-hmm.
And then they did. And then it was, all right, well, it's going to be that Cubs series. That Cubs series at the end of July. That's going to be a big one. That'll be a huge test. And then they win 2 or 3, from the Cubs there. And people are they're losing their minds. I got this from MLB Stats on X, Twitter, as I still call it. The Brewers are 24-4 since July 6th, the best record in baseball. They're the owners of 2 separate 9+ game win streaks for the first time in franchise history, 3 separate 8+ game win streaks for the first time in franchise history, and they're undefeated since Pat Murphy ate a pancake from his pocket.
Yeah. Wow.
Boom.
Yeah. And today they debuted what? Like, pocket pancake rallies were made available in the stadium.
Hey, they had pancake, like different foods to play along with it. When you look back at all these teams, though, John, like, there's always something. Like, every team had something. Like, there was like the beast mode, and then there was like the I don't remember, like the claws, like they did the claws up, and 82 had like Harvey's wall bangers. Like, I'm not saying that this team didn't have anything, but like, they've always just happened organically.
Yeah.
And then this whole thing happens with like the pancakes and this the power of friendship.
Yeah, average Joes. I mean, if Pat Murphy ever decides to quit coaching baseball, he'll probably retire. But if not,
Yeah.
get him in a boardroom doing marketing slogans.
No
everything
kidding.
he says,
This is gold.
everything he says is gold. Yeah, my head is swirling trying to think about this team because there's just so much fun stuff to be discussing about this baseball team we call the Milwaukee Brewers. But let's try to piece it out, right?
Yeah.
The first thing we haven't really discussed, trade deadline. We had a huge conversation about what we thought was going to happen in the trade deadline. We had talked a bunch about potential trade prospects, candidates. The board broke in a lot of ways. You had famously and negatively just been like, yeah, they're just not going to trade for anybody. I know they're going to do a bunch of moves on the margins. It is what it is. And I remember saying I agree with you. And then, their play on the field just kind of made it so obvious. Like the Brewers organizationally are never going to sell the farm to go all in on a player, right? Doug Melvin talks about it famously that he went in on that CC Sabathia trade because they knew they needed to get this team back into the playoffs, period. It had been too long. It was like, it truly was an act of desperation. And you think about like the trajectory we're on right now, and it fully starts at that trade,
2008.
right? It's like, it was a commitment to making this team a winner again. And now you see it compounded year over year, new philosophies. We go from Melvin to Stearns to Matt Arnold, like this culture of winning in a very specific way, right? And we'll probably constantly be touching on the culture in all the different ways that we can be excited about it. But specifically in this moment, I just want to talk about, like, I think Kurt Hogue on the Microbrew podcast said, like, it is like very well known that, like, if that trade were to be presented today, there's no way they'd make it. They will never probably make another trade like that. Like, fundamentally, this team knows that the only way they're ever going to be competing is by developing young talent and getting them to come up to the big leagues and perform right away. And that's absolutely what they're doing. So to go circle back to the trade deadline, you were correct. The biggest move was us selling. We sold. Not really. However, I was on here saying, like, they're going to have to trade somebody, either Cortez or Quintana. And I said, Nestor makes sense. He hadn't been in with the team since like early April, no shade to him. And I will say, in a very classy move, he announced his trade. He did apologize to Milwaukee for not being available more. And I think that's just like a really stand-up move.
Yeah, I agree.
He got rocked against the Yankees, and I don't wish that on anyone, really. Also think about how different the start of the season is. We want to keep laughing about how different this team is. Your league leading winners. I don't think we say that enough. We have not brought it up. We have the best record in baseball.
Yep.
We own the division by a considerable
5 games,
potentially
games? 6.
Top of the 9th. No outs. Well, no, I just went to 1 out. I'm scoreboard watching. The Cardinals are up 3-2 right now. So we could, at the end of this day, we could be up 6 games in the Central. That's absolutely crazy. Sorry for that tangent.
Insane. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah. But we traded Nestor Cortez for, of course, just an outfielder. That position we were dying to get a bat.
Yeah.
What's his name again? I always forget. I feel bad. It's Brandon Lockwood?
Lockridge.
Lockridge. It's a weird name, man. I don't know why I can't seem to wrap my head around it. Yeah. Lockridge went. Yeah, he got traded and then started the next game. Friday.
Well, and then you found out about Churio.
Right.
Churio had a.
I figure we could we'll do the trades and we'll talk on. But yes, Lockridge is forced to start playing pretty quickly and is still having to be played. So it's another classic conversation where the Packers. I'm looking at my own hat in the recording. The Brewers. It's they know what they like. They know what profiles they want. They know how to make use of players who don't fit the modern baseball ethos, which is big guys who can go yard, right? And there's a lot of very talented players who, in the right situation, can really produce. And I think about a guy like that. It makes perfect sense. You need depth up and down everywhere, right? So that's a great example of that. And then the other big acquisition was right after the deadline, traded for Shelby Miller, who was, I think, closing games for the Diamondbacks. And then he had a pretty steep injury in July. And so we traded him. We acquired him while he was still injured. He did a little rehab stint. I mean, he made his major league debut for the Brewers. I guess technically for the second time. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
He was on the Brewers
Yeah, he
roster
was
in
with us.
2020, but he opted out because it was a shortened COVID year. And you know that people. Anyways, but this is the real deal. And you saw he has what, like a sub 1.5 ERA out of the pen. He's another strong lefty to try to give Koenig a little relief. I remember exactly who I was listening to, but they were talking about how his pitches, like he has like reverse splits, right? So he actually pitches really well against lefties because of the way his stuff breaks. So
Sure.
Anybody who knows baseball better than I do that's listening, if I'm wrong on that, I'm just trying to remember what to be excited about. But I mean, they did exactly what they needed to. They added another. This could be the Nick Mears of this season, and obviously, unfortunately, there's no control. Right? He's only here for this year, and I think the way he's been pitching, he's absolutely going to get a bigger contract. But you want to talk about like stuff we needed to see to make a big playoff push? He's going to be a big addition to our bullpen, straight up. And then we took on Jordan Montgomery. He's not gonna take the field. He's recovering. So that was one of those. We'll take him off your hands as part of just make the deal happen kind of a thing. And I forget who went out. It was Jorge Quintana, which is a guy that they spent a pretty good penny on the same year they drafted maybe Churio. There was some fun stat floating around. It's been too long. I'm not gonna look it up. I'm going to speak about it anecdotally, but that was the guy they thought they spent a lot of money to go get this specific player. And then you just never know, right? You see stuff that you like, you never know how it's going to develop. And so they moved on from there, kind of no harm, no foul. Like it really wasn't a lot that was included in either one of those deals between Cortez leaving and then obviously us acquiring that bullpen arm, but that was it.
And everyone's saying, that the big trade acquisition win was Vaughn, which didn't come at the trade deadline. But I mean, Vaughn blew it up. The amount of social media posts of angry White Sox fans and just Chicago fans in general, just being like, this guy didn't do anywhere. What the hell is happening in Milwaukee? Why is this guy all of a sudden feeling it? And while he was super clutch, along that stretch of these last, 9 even longer games, it's so much more than just one player right now. And that's what makes this team crazy. This first of all, the Mets, while they are struggling, right? And I love that people are using that as an excuse, right? They said the same thing about the Dodgers, right? It was, well, you got the Dodgers at a good time. Yeah. Right now you're getting the Mets at a good time. The Mets are still a good team. Like they're still a good team. I'm not buying that. The Brewers are just better. And they are going out, and it doesn't matter who it is. Yeah. Collins.
That's the rookie of the year. That's the NL rookie of the year. Especially with the Miz being out for, he already joined the season late. He would have got a fun PR push because of the All-Star break. But I don't know how you see what Isaac Collins doing here and you don't make him the rookie of the year. I know there's a guy for the Marlins who's been playing pretty well.
Not on the best team in baseball.
No, exactly not. Not being the reason they're winning a lot of these games. Like the other thing we talked about, at the beginning of the year was like, how can this team still win games with losing the production of like Willie Adames, right? And there was a lot of conversations where he said Garrett Mitchell probably needs to be able to play, LOL, and needs to produce, LOL, at that rate. We need to see Joey Ortiz continue, LOL. He's hitting a lot better right now, but you think about like the math you needed to do as a Brewers fan to say, how do we just compete the way we did so that way we're maybe in the mix for the Central, maybe in the mix for a wild card. I sure as shit didn't think it was coming from Isaac Collins. I think if anybody anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, internationally, in the universe thought that it was going to be coming from Isaac Collins, you're lying and you should be ashamed of yourself.
No one saw this coming.
But he is one hell of a player. And he, I think like it's the perfect example of like this team plays such a specific way, and it's very much culture driven, culture focused. We are not going to chase balls. We are going to fight for at bats. We are going to relentlessly hit infield singles and put the ball in play and force your defense to be as elite as the Brewers defense is. And I think that's what I love about this team. I mean, the home runs are great. They're few and far between. Andrew Vaughn, obviously, it's been a revelation. He has more RBIs than games played at this point, or it's pretty damn close, which is hilarious. You know, you talk about like what his OPS is right now, and it's like it's over 1, which is not going to sustain. I mean, if it did, that'd be incredible. But even if you
Correct.
don't, like, you know, he's chasing less. His strike rate is down. Like, his swing decisions have been better. And if they hold and he levels out to 800 OPS, we're talking about potentially inadvertently finding our first baseman for like the next 2 years. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're talking about a guy who was the 3rd overall pick in the year he was drafted. Like, you talk about change of scenery, but it's not even that. It's talking about like, how do you get guys comfortable playing in a way that they don't feel like they have to play hero ball? And I feel like in today's modern MLB, if you're not hitting home runs for your team, you're not valuable. And that's just not how this team plays. So when Andrew Vaughn naturally can just spank the ball out of the park, that's awesome. It's really great to watch as a Brewers fan, you know? So,
but I got to keep going back to this. There are just certain things about a team and watching a baseball team be hot to where you go, this is different, right? And to me, one of those biggest signs is when you're not just talking about 1 or 2 players, right? Like back in 2008, 2011, like all the conversation was Braun and Fielder. And then you had like, then as it went a little deeper, you had like T Plush and you had a few other Ricky, but like, you know, the national media would like pay attention to those people, to Braun and Fielder. You can't do that with this team. There's literally not like one person on this team that you can say this is the reason, because as soon as you're focusing on Vaughn, then Contreras goes out there and becomes the freaking hottest player in the world. I mean, he's hitting what, like he hit 2 home runs today. He hit the big home run yesterday. Like, it's not like Contreras had been lights out, just killing it, but then he steps up. And then, you know, it's just the flow along the entire lineup is what makes this team different. They're just finding ways. It's different when you're watching your team play baseball, you're watching them bat, and you're not saying to yourself, oh man, I hope they don't walk him because that next guy's an automatic out. Like the closest guy is Joey Ortiz on this team. And Joey Ortiz hit 2 singles today to tie the game up twice. So if they were thinking that, then Ortiz made him pay for it, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no give. There's no give from this team right now.
Yeah, they're applying pressure on your pitchers 1 through 9 at any given point. And like I said, the Brewers defensively are elite. They can handle balls put into play, and it's so
look at Perkins.
It's incredible. I mean, it's incredible watching them play, and then watching other teams when there's this much play rate happening. Watching Major League Baseball players who are just not prepared to have to be as active as they are against the Brewers, because it's not even like I said it before, but it's like the hits might not be great, but they're coming at you a lot. And the Brewers are just really fortunate in forcing errors. I think about like this team specifically over the last couple of years, like this team scores with 2 outs. And you think about how many times if the Brewers got behind, if they've got behind in outs, if they got behind in the count, it's just a lot of chasing. It's a lot of reaching. Nothing positive was coming from that. And to see these last, I guess it would be like 25 games. They're like 24-4. Like you can't say they're luck merchants. I mean, you can. You're wrong, but you can say that. What you should say is, I don't like the way the Brewers play baseball because it makes my team that overspend look like assholes. Like you think about like the Dodgers, you think about like the Cubs, you think about the Mets. All these payroll teams go to the Brewers and they get their lunch money taken by undersized, underpowered players who are ready to just out fundamental you. And it's just like so fun to watch. I can see why other fan bases hate the Brewers. We're Nats. It's just like you can't ever expect that they're going to be out of a game because it's easier than hitting home run. It's just putting the ball in play. And they're good about getting on base. They've really, I think, specifically with Murph, we're seeing the effects of the second year where they are not chasing, they are not putting themselves in situations. You think about like Ortiz getting sat and Murph just being like, hey, right before the All-Star break, hey, he had a bunch of at-bats we did not like. That is not Brewers baseball. And you're not going to play if that's how you're going to, and I think like you are now fully experiencing the consequences, or what the better word would be, the benefits of that benching. There's this idea of like, you are not going to come in here and play a non-Brewers branded baseball. And I think they're good enough to let certain guys. Contreras has a way bigger green light than obviously Joey Ortiz. Yes. Andrew Vaughn clearly has a bigger green light than Caleb Durbin. But everybody knows their roles. And at the end of the day, they're all committed to limiting stupid decisions. And smart baseball players make winning easier, period. I just think like high baseball IQ players, it translates to defense. It translates to smarter hitting. And, the same question I keep hearing, and I'm sure you're hearing it all over Milwaukee, is like, how is this going to look in the plays in the postseason? What happens if did they get hot too soon? Well, here's my counter to that. You got a 30 game sample size. It's like when you play a game of blackjack, you got to ride the highs and the lows. 30 games is highs and lows. There just hasn't been a lot of lows, and I just think like statistically, like you can't produce at this level for this long and think that they're just going to crater again. Are they going to lose a series or two before the end of the season? Of course they are. But what I'm saying is what they're doing right now absolutely will translate. Does that not mean that the Dodgers could still, 1 through 5 go yard on any bad pitch? Of course that could still happen. That's why the salary cap is so maddening. But this is on paper the most competitive team for the way this team wants to play. Like we had that conversation last year going into the playoffs when there was a lot of discussions about, okay, the pitching is elite, but what happens if the pitching slips up and one player punishes you one time, now you're down in a game? What could those Brewers teams do? And the answer was not a whole hell of a lot. And every single game this series, I think 2 of the 3 games against the Braves, and I think 1 or 2 of the games against the Nationals, they were all down at least by 1 run. And it just doesn't matter. One run is like, well, we'll get that soon enough. Somebody's going to make this happen for us. Yep. And we touched on it 2 weeks ago and it hasn't changed. They're still, the numbers are updated, but they still have like a 95% win rate when they score 4 more runs in a game, when they're leading in heading into the 8th. Like Abner Uribe leads the NL in holds. Like, this series, obviously McGill got a lot more work, but he still is like in the top 3 in NL saves. And honestly, they haven't been getting a ton of work. There was a point between, the Nationals games where they put up like a 50 plus run differential. It's like, and then they went to the Braves and they kind of did the same thing. They did some sort of hilarious stat. I was in a Discord just kind of laughing about it, but it was like, it's been like 60 plus years since a team has put up that many runs in like a 6-game, like road stand. And it's not from home runs, and that's what's incredible. It's like, it's just guys hitting, getting on base, playing smart. So yeah. What a fun team.
Yeah, it's there's a ton of different ways to look at it. And I am someone who, I call it realism. A lot of people call it pessimism, of just looking at how many games are left, how quickly things can change. That you gotta, not saying that they're going to happen, but saying, this team's got to keep the pedal to the metal because, it's not, there's not a finish line until we're celebrating a World Series. That being said, this run, and I'm not even talking the last 9 games. I'm just saying, like, since June has been so much fun. And I really hope that Brewers fans have enjoyed this. And not just focused on, all right, but can they still do this in October? Because this is different than last year, right? This is different than the feeling, the vibes, everything around the city. This does not feel like, well, the Brewers have a chance. They could do this. They're gonna have the Mets come in, but the Brewers could, like, this feels so much different than the last couple years of Brewers baseball. And regardless of what happens in September, God, I hope you've enjoyed the last couple months because it has been such an amazing ride. And just of these players that all of us started going, I don't even know who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
You know, it was all people that we didn't know. Definitely the national media didn't know, and it didn't matter. I love this stat. I don't even know if this is true. It seems too crazy to be true. This is from a guy named Tim Mumma, Muma, maybe, I don't know, on Twitter. But he said, crazy stat. Since May 25th, the Cubs have the second best record in the NL, fifth in Major League Baseball. In that time, they have lost 12 games in the standings to the Brewers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like,
I mean,
it's
you have
not
to
even like
assume
the
it's
Cubs are playing bad baseball, even though they just lost to the Cardinals, by the way. So
yeah.
Brewers now 5.5 games up. But they're playing good ball. Like if you're a Cubs fan, you shouldn't even be frustrated. You are frustrated because the Brewers right now are just doing unreal things.
Totally.
They
I
just-
have to correct you. No, you're right. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, 5.5 games.
Okay.
Yep. You're right.
They're just doing unreal things right now, and it's that's why I'm saying this type of baseball, even if the Brewers continue to play it, will not keep equating to 9-10 game winning streaks. Like,
yeah,
eventually, as you mentioned, John, ebbs and flows. They're going to happen. You know, there's going to be a time when the Brewers lose a game 5-4 instead of winning a game 5-4. But enjoy this because it's been a hell of a ride. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, it should be noted that we still have 5 games against the Cubs. So, you know, barring any sort of like weird disaster, and I just don't think that'll be the case. Even if you split that, you'll still be, you know, pretty much hovering around that 3.5, 4.5, 5 win record. I mean, we're getting the Pirates coming into town, so it really doesn't feel like it should be that challenging to keep on.
I'm sorry. You were going to correct me, and you should have. It is 6 games.
Okay,
that's what I swear it said 5.5.
Yeah.
Like I clicked standings right after the game.
Yeah.
But now it's updated. 6 games.
Yeah.
Flat.
Cool. Yeah. Well, there was some concern with the rain delay of what that would do. So, which would have been funny because the other interesting little angle for the Cubs is if they would have had to rain delay this, they would have had to have played tomorrow, and that would have put them on like an 18 game, like a really long play streak because of they're just running out of days to play games against these teams because they keep taking them. Some other stuff we should hit on. Sunday lineup. No Yelly, no Terang, no Churio. You know what I mean? Go figure. Come back down 5-0 to win the baseball game. Absolutely hilarious. You know, it's looking like Mizorowski, you know, just doing a little IL update. He got put on IL after he took that shot from I forget which Cub. But it seems to be healing well. We'll see him back in the rotation. Because of that, they brought up Logan Henderson. There was that beautiful story where Logan Henderson had to drive with his dad like 4.5 hours to get to the Nationals game to be able to start, and he slotted right in. You know, he's one of those guys where you feel for him because he got the rub. It got called down. I mean, Woodruff's been incredible, but he got squeezed out. Same with Chad Patrick when Katana came back. But he came out and pitched really well. And then we found out he also was going on an IL stint for like an elbow contusion or something.
Yeah.
Either way, it seems like the initial returns on the MRIs are positive, but you just never know. And then, of course, in that situation, I was telling this to my dad. Like I said, we've been texting. Chad Patrick pitched 2 days ago, so they brought up Tobias Myers. You want to talk about a guy who pitched really well for the Brewers last year. I mean, pitched in Game 3 of the playoffs against the Mets and was not the reason we lost that game. I'll tell you that much. He came in and gave a really strong 3 1/3 innings yesterday. You know, short notice. It is what it is. He did everything he needed to, and then obviously Ashby came in, and then they just shut that game down yesterday too. But yeah, you know, Churio is looking. He was dealing with those like hamstring spasms. I don't know. It seems like they're hopeful he'll be back within the next week or two. But when you look at the team, it's like probably not worth rushing him back. I mean, obviously you want him back, but the best thing is like he had that like incredible hit streak going. He's been stringing together but he needs to be healthy, period. And with
Mhm.
Blake Perkins back doing Blake Perkins things, I mean,
Yep.
offensively, just like so solid. Obviously,
Defensively.
there's been two players. There's been like one player who's had 2 throwouts unassisted at home in the last 40 years, and they're both from Blake Perkins. That throw was incredible Friday.
It
Just
was nuts.
absolutely nuts. And it's the same kind of throw too. If you look at the Reds from last year, where he gets a nice lazy hop, he times his one hop, so he's already in his throw motion. It looks so smooth. He threw that ball at 96.8 miles an hour on a rope,
Yeah.
right to Willie. So,
I gotta say, I don't know exactly. It might have been. I think it was that game, but Euchre was still calling games. He called that game, and they had said the last time Blake did this, and they had shown that, and it was like the exact same. Like, I want to see someone overlay Euchre's call over that most recent Perkins play at the plate, because it was like a throw to Contreras to get him out for the Brewers to win. I was like, this is literally the same thing happening again. It was amazing. It was incredible.
Yep.
It was incredible.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so, next guy up.
Yeah.
The other big thing we didn't really talk about too is like we acquired Danny Jansen, a backup catcher. Eric Haas got DFA'd. Luckily he's back in the organization. We just needed somebody who's a little better. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was starting for the Rays. Not an incredible hitter, but it's just somebody who can get, Contreras in the DH a little bit more. I mean, we're going to have a really interesting conversation here in the next couple of weeks on what the Brewers do with Rhys Hoskins. I mean, he's probably going to be the DH. Right? Like you keep Yelly out and left, and then I just don't see how you take Andrew Vaughn off first base. This is like a big if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
you don't touch anything happening right now. You
Yep.
don't touch a damn thing. I'm sorry, Hoskins. This is the good things are happening right now.
Yeah.
You're waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
100%. You can't touch it. I understand what the stats might say, but like whatever's happening right now is working. And so you continue to do that until it's not. And then you can try, a few other things. I want to put this out there. If you had to look at something with this team besides injuries, right? Because obviously, yes, we want to get Churio back, Miz back. There's some of these other guys. If there's one piece of this team, one piece of this team that has you worried down the stretch, something you want to see better, John, what would you say?
Can I give you 2 things? Because I think there are some things to be mindful of. I think not player-wise, I think my big thing would be our base running. We are feeling the Quentin Berry, my buddy Andrew called it the other day, brain drain. I asked him, I was just like, hey, do you think this is like truly a Quentin Berry thing? But they're just as aggressive as they are, but they've been caught stealing. They have the worst caught stealing percentage in all of baseball. So they're just as aggressive. They're just as fast as they've ever been, but they're getting themselves picked off. And I just think like when you talk about things that could get cleaned up, part of our aggressiveness, getting from first to second in between pitches is fantastic, but that needs to get tightened up, I think, to really have me feeling good about what they can accomplish on the base paths. Because if we're losing momentum, we're losing innings due to unnecessary aggressive base path running. That's going to be something that'll be very frustrating. And, obviously it hasn't cost them any games, but this is one of those conversations where there's 45 games left. It's time to figure out who has the green light and who doesn't, who's not, up to snuff in that respect.
Sure.
I just think that's like one big thing I have my eye on. And then the other thing, what is a player? I don't know. It's really hard for me to pick a player, if I'm being honest. I think like I could give you an answer, but it feels disingenuous because I think I'm actively mining it a little bit too hard. Like I feel like defensively, I feel like Terang is not where he was last year, but he's still one of the best second basemen in all of baseball. I just for me, it's like seeing him make some silly mistakes over the last couple series, just I guess uncharacteristic. And maybe there's a reason why he's finding himself with some days off. If it's just fatigue, then great. But ultimately, when I think about all of this, my thought comes back to like, the defense needs to be elite, period. And they need to start trotting out lineups that gets guys fresh, so that way we're not going to be watching some mistakes. Because we said earlier in the year the margins for this team are razor thin. Turns out that's not necessarily the case, but when you're going against the other 5 best teams in your division, the stakes are pretty high again. And that is to say that the Brewers have the best record against teams over 500 in all of baseball. So, they're definitely proving these adages that we had just looking up and down the roster wrong, but one slump could really get the vibes of this team kind of down. But I will say the counter to that is if Jacob Mizorowski keeps pulling base set Charizards, it's going to be really hard for it not to feel immaculate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 100%.
It's a crime that it took us 36 minutes to get to that.
Yeah.
That is like peak. What are the vibes? Just randomly after one of the most insane endings of all time, Rhys Hoskins throws some booster packs to the boys, and Mizorowski just pulls a base set Charizard.
Hollow Charizard. Yeah.
Crazy.
Insane.
And then you're just like hearing like BA and like Sophia Minert trying to like have a conversation about it. And you and I love Pokemon. We're a little bit of nerds in that way.
Yeah. He grew up with it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I hope they grade that card. I'm hoping for a PSA 10. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
That'd be incredible. But like watching McGill, and that made me feel old in a way. We are both like, 10 to 12 years older than most of the Brewers players. So that is whatever. But there's something about watching people our age be professional athletes at the height of the sport, doing shit that you and I would be killing to do or used to do all the time. That feels very weird to me.
Yeah.
That moment specifically, I was just like, oh no. But
that's what I'm saying. Pancakes and Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
That's Pancakes, Pokemon cards, and the power of friendship.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the trifecta of this team.
I have a question for you.
It's crazy.
Before
you ask, let me answer.
Answer your own question. Of course.
So my big concern is, and this is crazy to say, but it's the balance between starting pitching and the hitting. Because right now, like Freddie can go out there and he can give up 5 runs. Or today, Priester had an off day, 4 innings, 10 hits, 6 runs, 2 strikeouts. Not what we have been seeing from Quinn Priester.
Yeah.
But the bats keep coming through, right? And bailing them out, which we are not used to seeing. My concern is that it's not going to stay that way. It's not going to stay that way. So you have to either like Freddie's got to, get back. I know he's winning games, but he's winning games because they're putting up runs
by the skin of his teeth. Yeah.
Right.
These are not Peralta style wins.
Right. And so that's got to change because I'm sorry. I'm not going to rely on Collins, just finding a way to hit, and Vaughn and Contreras, just getting opportunities where there's a pitch clock violation, give him another at bat and then hitting a 2-run bomb. Things are happening right now that are bailing these guys out, and it can't be that way down the stretch. So that's my one big concern, is that I'm not relying on the bats continue to be there. So the pitching that's been elite the starting pitching has to go back to being elite.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say for me, Freddie specifically is a little more troubling because I just feel like the last three starts, they haven't been losses, but you just look at the way that his pitches are landing, the control, the movement. It's not Freddie Peralta pitching, right? So you want to see that. I had some friends be really nervous about like Priester's start, just being like, this is what I'm nervous about. But I mean, the guy's on pace to have one of the best rookie or like first year seasons with a baseball team the Brewers have ever had, right? So it's like, unless he does this again, I can't really put much stock into it, right? And you think about too, it's like the postseason is going to shrink. There was conversations where I'm like, is it going to be who are the 3 pitchers if they have to shrink it down to a 3-game series? And like, I think there is a point where I think here's what I know about Murph. There's no way he wouldn't play Freddie Peralta, but I think if that player's name wasn't Freddie Peralta, if you want player A, who is Freddie, you might choose to go with like a Priester. There was points in this in the last month and a half where I'm like, Woodruff, Priester, Miz. Those are your three, right?
Yep.
Or, and so, they have a lot to figure that out. I mean, there's 45 games, like we keep saying, left in the season. There's a lot of stuff to suss out and figure out, but, Quentin Priester was a hell of an acquisition, right? Making everybody look foolish, which has been great. So I think that's a very fair concern because while the offense, this is what the offense is, there's going to be games where you're just going to be going against better hitters, right? And so that pitching, I think for us to go deep in the playoffs, both the pitching and the hitting need to help each other a lot more than they have in the past. And I think we've definitely said that much. And I think the pitching has definitely done their fair share because they've been elite up and down. And they still are compared to most teams, right? So
my whole point is, if the Brewers lose this game 6-2, are we looking at the offense or are we looking at Priester's performance giving up 6 runs? That's what I'm saying. Like, people aren't going to focus on that, and they shouldn't, because this team found a way to come back and win. And when there's 162 games, you have to win however you can. Guys are going to have off days. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, like, if people are really worried about how this team's going to be in October, that's what you're looking at. Yep. I'm not looking at anything beyond the fact that right now, as you said, they are bailing each other out back, left and right. And it's not always going to be that way. And it seems like in October, your pitching just needs to be on, because anytime that there's a mistake, one mistake pitch, they take advantage of it. And that could be the game. It could be that one swing. So it's fine for now because it's still August. But that is my one concern. All right. What was your question?
Shoot. It was kind of a bit, so I'll ask it anyways. My question is, do you think the job of this team is to provide a summer of entertainment like we're currently getting, or to compete for championships in the postseason?
I really thought about this too when I saw something saying, like, I don't even know how many it's been now, but that, like, this was like, there was another sellout, like, they just keep selling it out. And they're showing all these. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I wonder how many people showed up for this game because of a giveaway. I wonder how many people showed up for this game because there was a discounted ticket special. Like, that's why I absolutely hate the argument of, well, listen, there's all these games. We're here to make money. We're going to get people in the seats. We're going to do giveaways. We're going to do nothing that, and maybe it's different in other cities. Maybe it's different with other organizations, other towns. I don't know. I can only speak for the small market Milwaukee Brewers that I've been a fan of my entire life. When I tell you, winning is all that matters. People will go to the stadium and talk about it with their friends and text their dads and have full-blown conversations about the Brewers in the grocery store, not based on the bobblehead that's coming out, but based on the quality of play by the team.
Yep. Keep
putting together teams that win, and you will fill seats.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Totally. I understand, like, you do that, like the Rays, right? The Rays find ways to win and still no one shows up at their games. That's not the culture in Milwaukee. That's not what we are. Milwaukee wants to win. They're desperate for a World Series win. I started seeing, there was a trend that was going on Twitter that was like, someone said, like, I would give up 5 years of absolutely awful Packers football for a Brewers World Series win. And someone said, like, I would give up like 10 years of awful Badger football. And someone said, I would be okay if you just blew up the entire UW athletics program for a Brewers World Series win. We are so desperate to get one. We don't care about the bobbleheads anymore. Just give us a win. Put a good team on the field. That's
1,000%. Yep, 100%. Obviously, the real test will be September. The start of the season, the end of the season always is a stress test. That's why when they talk about attendance, I find it so dishonest. It's like, it's the smallest market in baseball. Kids are still in school. Like, give me a break. Kids are going to be returning to school, but we're selling out against team. You know what I mean? Like the Mets are a great baseball team or like a great organization, a good club. It's a team worth watching play, but this isn't a sellout if the Brewers aren't doing what they're doing. So you're like, you summarized it perfectly. Yeah. I think they go hand in hand. I mean, ultimately this is the best of both worlds. I think Mark originally was trying to say like, we want to like, just like squeak into the playoffs every year and hope something can happen. You know what I mean? That's the difference. Or do we want to put an exciting product on the field? But the last thing I want to say about the Brewers, and probably, we can bounce around anything we want to spend a few minutes on in terms of like Packers or all that other stuff we kind of teased at the top. If we want to touch on it at all, I am only thinking about the Brewers right now.
Yeah. Preseason happened. I don't care.
What I wanted to say is Pat Murphy better be your 2-time back-to-back NL Coach of the Year. You talk about how he won it last year. Nobody even wanted to give the Brewers credit for where they, what they ascended to last year. They just assumed there's no way they could do it again. And obviously they've exceeded and smashed those expectations. Right now they're on pace to win 100 games. Do I think they will? No. But you and I were having a conversation where I said, I think they could maybe win 90. And you were like laughing at me saying like, how does this team on paper get to 90 wins? Right. And that seems like all but certain, they have a 75% chance of winning the NL Central right now. A month and a half ago, they were in the 20s and 30s. The Cubs fans were laughing at us, blah, 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 blah. So it's kind of interesting, but Pat Murphy's been incredible. I think you talk about like, he coaches them like a college baseball team. And that's where he did most of his coaching. But you think about like, it's the perfect storm of like, would most major league players who are making hundreds of $1 million be coached like this? Probably not. Probably could only happen in Milwaukee. Would all-star players who mash like crazy take this kind of criticism from him? Absolutely not. Would ownership tolerate some of the harder choices and not playing key players in the interest of sending a message as opposed to maybe winning or losing a game? Probably not. But you talk about what Milwaukee is culturally, as foundationally to its core. You talk about the types of players that this Brewers team has and the type of coach that Murph is, period. When we first heard the news, we were like, oh, so they're just waiting time until Ricky Weeks is ready to fill in. This is Murph's team, and it will be for a long time. Of course. And I think, like I said, there's a lot of players up and down this league who can play this style of baseball that other teams just aren't interested in. And I think you're going to see kind of a shift. You can't watch the Brewers be the best team in baseball with guys who are 5'8", who are slugging somewhere between 700 and 800. Like they're good there's not a lot of great hitters, but there's a lot of good hitters on this team, and they string a lot. And I don't want to keep rehashing the same old shit, but I just like, this is 100% so uniquely a Milwaukee thing at every single angle in the way you approach this that 1,000%. It feels almost criminal that it took this long for it to happen. Right. And I don't, that's just not how that works. But, we have like the best record in baseball. We have the best farm system in baseball. We didn't even talk about it, and I'll just say it, like Luis Pena Jr. and Jesus Mate got called to the Timber Rattlers. They both have homered a ton, are showing a ton. I forget, was it Pena or Mate? I think it was Mate he hit a ball with an exit velo of 113, which just would have been the hardest ball a Brewer has hit all season. And he's 18, turning 18. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of those, it feels like this is one of those things where, will the next 5 years translate into any World Series? I don't know, but it feels like they're positioned to, at least in the next couple of years, do a lot of damage, all 162 games, and then into the playoffs. And as a baseball fan, this is what feeling like you're in the mix truly feels like. Because I think we had to do a lot of mental gymnastics to convince ourselves that some of these other postseason runs could feel the way this feels right now. And I know it's just a regular season. They haven't done anything in the postseason, but like when we constantly circle back to this idea, how do teams win in the playoffs? This is the closest the Brewers have ever played to answering that question. So it can't come soon enough. Straight up. They have the best record. They have the best run differential and the largest division lead in all of baseball. They're 6 games up on the Cubs, and they are 5 full games up in first place against the Phillies. The Dodgers are, I think right there. Either way, we were saying hopefully we can get a wild card.
Yeah, Dodgers are tied with the
Phillies.
The Phillies for wins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both at 68.
So we were saying hopefully we could get in the wild card, and now I'm like, why play in the first round at all?
Right.
You know, so
Right. And
yeah.
and that's exactly it. And like we said, it's August 10th. There's so much baseball left, but this has been so much fun. This team is so much fun. We have had teams in the past that have been successful, but it's stressful and
Mhm.
things don't always seem to be gelling. This is not that team. This is a very exciting team. This is a fun team. This is a team you want to spend a whole hour talking about, even though the Packers have started playing football. I'm sorry. This is a Brewers team that is going to get 100% of your attention, especially when they go on another 9-game winning streak so far.
Yeah. I mean, we're back on Burger Watch. They're playing the Pirates. I mean, and then the last little note also,
I'm going to knock on that.
go ahead, knock away.
I did.
A little programming note that I think there was a pitching swap. I forget who it was. Let me check. Adam McAlvey tweeted about it. To get Peralta back on pitching on that doubleheader for the Cubs, they're bumping Freddie Peralta start to Tuesday. And now Quintana will start tomorrow. So they're swapping them. So that way we get Peralta in that doubleheader against the Cubs. So just a fun little pitching match, you know, some more chess.
Yeah.
You know, those cowards didn't want to face Miz and Peralta in the same day. And now they're going to have to pay for it in another way. But yeah.
And that'll be, you know, that's a huge series. That's going to be the next time that we do a podcast. It'll be right before the start of that series, that huge 5-game series against the Cubs, which truthfully, especially if things stay, keep pace, can really blow this whole thing wide open. It's an opportunity for the Cubs to either make it tight again or for the Brewers to essentially make it over in September.
Yeah. They could, I mean, before September, you know,
before September. Yeah.
Yeah.
So plenty of baseball still left to play, but God, this is a fun team and it's really exciting to talk about. And if you're not having fun watching this team, I don't know what the hell you're doing, because this has been from start to finish just thrilling ass baseball. And
Amen.
I've loved every second of it.
Yeah.
And I hope you have too. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We enjoyed doing it. If you were watching this on YouTube, make sure to also like, subscribe, follow all that fun stuff here, but also on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you can't catch the video stream of us, you can do us there. And of course, vice versa. We do appreciate all of that. And we hope that you tune in next time, because we are not done yet.